Remember, I'm not just friends with Miranda or Baxter. You're my friends too.
Thanks.
We feel the same way about you. That's right. Then you carefully set the phone down so the husbands continued their own dancing. You came up to Xavier. They were hanging out at the edge of the main action, still trying to get used to this venue. He raised a hand palm up as he approached. Xavier's brow lifted in time with that. Would you mind having a dance?
Thank you.
Really? Me? I'm flattered. They placed their hand in yours without another word. Then you took one step to lead them onto the dance floor. That was when something incredible happened. Miranda requested a time to dance with Baxter. It looked like she was trying to be bolder friends. It looked like she was trying hard to be bolder with friends, as well as her boyfriend. Her gumption took Baxter by surprise, however. He never declined a lady's request for a waltz. They took it slow and steady. Terry hung around as the pair began. Terry hung around the pair as moving, cheering audience of one. Xavier noticed the unexpected exchange too, though for them it was Baxter's behavior that felt shocking. They didn't know about Miranda or how she'd grown. They did have experience with Mr. Ward.
Good deal.
Quite a party. The first time I met Baxter, he didn't say a single word that wasn't a polite greeting, a farewell, or explicitly related to wedding work. No matter how reasonable he presented himself as, it was going too far. I had to assume he didn't care for other people, or didn't know how to truly interact with them. And the more times he came to my shop, the more confident I became about the second fairy. I liked his company anyway, especially when he let loose and made a joke or two. That was monumental. We developed a productive and trusting working relationship. That's all it amounted to for Baxter. But I decided we were friends on behalf of both of us. Their reminiscing ended, and Xavier was suddenly grinning squarely at you.
Well?
Still, who knew I would be attending a house party with him? I wonder if you had a say in making that happen. Yep. And Baxter couldn't invite you himself. I had to bring it up. He went straight along with it, though. Xavier chuckled, light and airy and unoffended. Thanks for accommodating someone like him. I'm thinking of me. I believe you and I could get along too. Would you want to exchange numbers? We can even stay in touch when you leave that way. Oh! Absolutely.
Always a pleasure.
Lovely. They took out a pale purple phone with pastel-toned rainbow keychain. You got their contact saved into your device, and they did the same for you. And that was that. You successfully made another friend. After a pleasant conversation about random aspects of your lives, anything could be said, since you still had everything to learn. The two of you split off. Xavier wanted to say a word to the others in attendance, and so did you. He went over to Terry and Miranda. The happy couple was dancing. Terry was leading Miranda in a properly formal back-to-back. Terry was leading Miranda in a properly formal back and step forth. A back and forth step. Wait for them to finish before speaking up. Hi! Kelly! Hey, bud. Mind if I can? I'd like to dance with each of you.
Fun!
Definitely. Oh yeah, we can all dance. Terry threw an arm around your shoulder before pulling Miranda in on his other side. He squeezed you and began to sway. Miranda laughed as she let herself be carried by the notion. It wasn't in any way effective for slow dancing, and was incredibly funny. And you wouldn't provide anything else. I'm Callie. Thanks again for coming here and doing all of this. I know it wasn't much of a vacation, but maybe you had some fun. It was more than fun. It was life-changing. There wasn't a hint of exaggeration in your statement. Scott and Jude's wedding was something you were going to remember forever, no matter what. But the trip back to the area you grew up in had been an irreplaceable experience in another, entirely unpredictable way. Terry, Miranda, and you didn't have to vocalize it. You knew what the quiet meant. Each one of you had gone a new friend, as a reward for participating. And for you, he became more than a friend. It was truly wonderful. Then Terry concluded the silent moment with a content sigh.
Preposterous!
I'd say our latest endeavors have been great success in both personal and relationships and our careers. Our careers? Franny put her hand to her hip, leveled an amusedly unimpressed glance. Here we go again. Yes, it's party planners. How many amazing batches have we thrown at this point? I've lost count. 3. You've contributed to 3 celebrations, unless you count that Summer's soiree as a separate thing. Then 4. Impressive. How's that event company Baxter works at not offered us positions yet? Before you or Miranda could get a word in on how you felt about this new direction in life you were being volunteered for. Harry's face went completely deadpan.
Nah.
And that's a joke, people. I'm unavailable for future party planning committees for at least a year. The comebacks on the tip of your tongues died, replaced entirely by giggles.
That's cool.
Good, because I'm not either. Next time, let's hire Baxter from the start. Yeah. Sorry, we're secret party planners forever. No!
No way.
No! You and your buddies had fun together for the length of one song, and then you broke off to further mingle. You walked towards Cove. You were smiling as you nodded. Hey! Wanna dance? Cove didn't question that. He was expecting those 2 words.
Yeah.
Yeah. He took each other's hands and slowly moved his one on the makeshift dance floor. On the other side of the room, Terry had taken a turn, going for a spin with Baxter. Miranda had switched to snapping pictures. They looked to be having fun. Cove had to look at you through eyes squinted along the bottom, as his cheeks were lifted high from his grin. We finally get to see each other without everyone else for a change.
I mean...
Well, they're still here, but at least they're doing other things. He tilted his chin in the direction of the 2 moles, found him kind of rug in front of the photographer, catching every angle of it. If you recall right, Ronnie's cousin was the photographer at the wedding, perhaps around in the family. You and Cove refocused at the second sound. You've known each other enough for years to have that level of synchronization. You can instinctively feel when a pause would end. Anyways, how you been? Since we saw each other at the wedding, and right now, it kind of feels like way more has happened than usual. I'm good. How about you? I'm good too. You hadn't missed that little now. Cove tacked on the end.
So
I hope you like the party. I think you all did a great job.
I'm so glad.
Cool. Then it was worth it. We spent most of the day putting it together. The food and decorations and stuff. Cove's eyes rested blows as he released a long, tired breath. I really didn't know what I was missing when I only took half in this sort of thing. Then he showed you a bent smile and angled those wavy brows of his. I was definitely right to be too busy to help much of those other times. Wow, Cove. I knew you were trying to get out of work. Hey, my excuses were real, even if I didn't actually want to do it. Oh, and thanks for making me a goodie bag. That was great. You're welcome. Thank you for helping make him snacks up. Neither of you needed to affirm what you already knew. And you merely had to appreciate it. After that, you continued to chat, reminiscing about previous parties you had attended while growing up, and guessing which events you might be guessed at next. Definitely Miranda and Terry's. I mean, they're gonna get married next. That only makes sense. Eventually, you parted ways. You wanted to find the man you'd come with, and Cove preferred to stay where he was. Finally, you reunited with Baxter. Though finally might have been too strong a thought. It might have been maybe 20 minutes. It's not another 5-year reunion. Something like that would never happen again. Baxter hadn't said a word yet. And I had you, but he was already smacking. Oh, look, Callie. You're at this lovely soiree as well. What a coincidence. Next thing I know, I'll find you in my very own bed. Maybe if your luck holds up.
Darling.
I prefer to not rely on that anymore, darling. He called you darling.
Now?
Now, might I ask you for a dance? Absolutely. You held out your hand for him. Baxter accepted without seconds of hesitation. And your first dance together. The day began. Around you, Terry and Miranda shared the dance of their own. Baxter had a new partner to keep him company. Also, the two of them loved each other and wanted to be together. Xavier was dancing with Miranda's phone. They're probably curious to speak more with their former clients. And Garth was content to keep watch. He'd never been a fancy-footed guy. No one pressured him to do something he wouldn't want to. I certainly do owe the group my thanks. It doesn't matter that we went out the night before. I'm grateful to have every opportunity for this. Same here. This might have been the Adams' living room, but the atmosphere had really changed. Baxter's face was bright even in the low light, thanks to the dangling fairy strands caught his eyes. The couple with a gentle piano floating through the air transported you to a grand ballroom. But the most significant aspect that swept you away was the fact that you were there with Baxter Ward. He could enchant you anywhere in the world. For a moment, you forgot the others were in the room. One song blended into another, and the night continued on and on. Eventually, however, the gang decided to rest their dancing feet and return to the snacks. Baxter wasn't hungry. Instead, he wondered if he could get some fresh air. It was your party, was Jude's succulent reply. I don't know. With that, Baxter politely excused himself from the room. He made eye contact with you as he passed. There was an opening to join him if you had ever seen one. Saddle wasn't his forte, but he could make use of what he... Saddle wasn't his forte. Saddle wasn't his usual forte, but he could make use of when needed. You made your own explanations and left the gathering. Outside, Baxter was waiting for you on the sidewalk in front of the Adams' house. He had his hands deep in his pockets while gazing at the starry sky. Night had fallen over the world while you'd been dancing. You came to his side and Baxter began to speak without turning his head. He knew it was you.
You know?
Honestly, I was feeling out of my element, not so surprisingly. Parties might be my forte in general, but wealth of experience with social gatherings, it doesn't extend further than being cordial near strangers, hang out in a group of friends. And my skills are rusty, to say the least. At least you have plenty of chances to get more used to it in the future. He lowered his chin lowered and his shoulders raised. A pleasant little smile grew along Baxter's face. And then he swept an arm through the still warm air of the Californian summer. Oh well, here we are, in the middle of an unassuming neighborhood street I happen to be visiting. For all my intentions of being intriguing, a good amount of moments we've spent together have been a familiar setting to this, haven't they? We had our first unexpected reunion on your street. Many of our best laid plans were imagined there. That's where I asked you out for the first time. And of course, I parted ways with you while standing in the road between our two homes at that time. Oh yeah, memories. When you first arrived on that street only a week ago, to help prepare for a wedding, You could never have imagined where it would lead. How could you be there in that exact spot where it started, and have things be different now? Baxter continued to gently muse. I suppose that was part of the issue. I didn't consider myself appealing enough as a person to be worth the time. So I wanted support of an exciting or interesting backdrop of meetings. But it shouldn't matter that much where you are, if you enjoy who you're with. I could have told you that. I've been trying to tell you that. You don't have to jump through hoops to be good company. Just be yourself. His eyes closed, too bashful to meet your bold-faced affection directly. But Baxter let it wash over him.
Truthfully.
I'm thankful I was wrong about you, and mostly myself. And also for Jude and Scott's relationship. I'll always be grateful they lasted after all. For their sake, and for ours. The quiet pause forming was completely shut, the two mismatching jingles going off. Baxter's phone and yours got notifications at the same time. The group chat. Baxter muttered, lifting one brow. You reached for your devices to check. He was cracked. Randy, Terry, and Cove had started streaming in messages. Each one was identical. The emote of champagne glasses clinking. And then, Miranda added a couple more. From Scott and Gio, she noted. Cove dropped another on Xavier's behalf too. Then, for good measure, Terry started smelling champagne glasses. Baxter snorted the gang gave this digital cheers. If you had to guess, you'd single out Miranda as the person behind this. Not only because she messaged fast, but because it was just the kind of small sweet gesture she would pull. Brandy must have been brainstorming some way to make Baxter's offhand remark come true since he made it. And she found a lot of success with the idea. Baxter was grinning like a schoolboy at his screen.
Bravo.
They certainly do have the spirit of pro-event planners. Finding possibilities to make a celebration special, even if the celebrations aren't what the guest originally imagined. Still would have been nice to have a real drink, he joked. Now, Callie. It's the thought that counts, but I agree. Then, you added your own little glass set. You added your own little glass to the set. You and Miss joining on the toast to your and Baxter's honor. Finally, Baxter put his own champagne emoji along with the others to complete the gesture. He even lifted his phone like it was a long-stemmed glass. That unnecessary level of class. That unnecessary level of class was very him. Nothing more came in for the rest of the party. So he shared a casual observation while putting your phone away. Usually everyone would tease me more. Baxter listened closely as he placed his own phone back into his jacket. What we got when we told them about us wasn't that much. No one joked that we'd only been out here so long, they were worried we snuck off to get married already. They're showing such restraint. I'm pretty sure the gang's going so easy because you're such a skittish guy when it comes to making friends anyway. Baxter smacked a hand over his mouth. He had to reply through his fingers and in between laughs. That is a fair theory. I haven't been easy to speak with. However, I'm less skittish with people now than I could ever imagine. I could be. You met your eyes once more, slipping a hand around yours instead. And far, far happier as well. His expression was heart-wrenchingly bittersweet. And I'll miss you so much when you go, Callie. There's no getting around the fact that your situations had reversed. You were there simply for a visit. This wasn't your home. and you're going to have to leave. Tomorrow. It made your chest squeeze to think about that. You'd be left here without you, and you'd have to go without him.
Forgive me.
Don't worry. Seeing sadness cloud your face, Baxter immediately offered reassurances. I sincerely swear I will respond when you reach out, and keep in touch myself. He pulled his most bold grin, even if his words still faltered a bit at the end. Every day, multiple times a day, in fact. Well, if that wouldn't be annoyance, I have no issues dating long distance. As you said once, if Scone Jude can make it work, so can we, right? The consent was awfully sweet, though you hadn't intended worrying him. Well, I'm gonna message you more. And Baxter's voice loosened, and his expressions grew soft. He realized that his actions weren't the cause of your pain. It remained that Baxter's first instinct was to see the mistakes in everything he did, and to assume he didn't know how to make someone happy. But your issue was only how you can be with him even longer. That and other problems. You've had it with a truly genuine kiss on the back of the hand he still held. I imagine we won't be apart terribly long.
Honestly.
You see, I need a break after my last clients. Were something of a rush job. The company understands. And I don't know where this concept came from, but recently I've been thinking about taking a little vacation. A spark of hope immediately went off inside your head. It was bright enough to lie in your face. Baxter pounced on the hint of interest, smirking deviously. It wouldn't be anything grandiose, like staying in a luxurious mountain lodge, or a cross-state road trip. As we established, location is secondary to company. And apparently, according to some strange man, going on trips to spend time with a person you love is a good idea. Quite a concept.
I hope I'm not being too forward.
Besides, they were thoughtful enough to find me where I was first. It's only polite to return the favor. Baxter was going to visit? He didn't live that far, sure, but still required some planning and genuine effort. You leaned forward and kissed him. Baxter didn't hesitate to meet you halfway, as if he had been waiting his whole life for it. The touch was all too precious and far too short. You shared another to help fix that. You can take your own advice. Incredible. I'm amazed as you are. Baxter's face was flushed. His voice came out jittery from both excitement and lingering nerves, and he couldn't stand completely still.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Merely, a part of me was convinced I wouldn't go through with it. What if you thought I lost my mind to follow you right after we barely re-established a connection? You could imagine that completely. It wasn't a judgment on you. That's not who he was doubting. Looking foolish for admitting that he'd become too attached was a long-held fear Baxter had to himself. To say what he did, and not backtrack, was like stepping off an edge of a cliff. He had really grown. But having this last day together, knowing that it was the last... But having this last day together, knowing it was the last, was final. Was the final push to pursue what I actually wanted. And I didn't even need to make you choose for me with a game of rock, paper, scissors. I forfeited by default. Baxter jerkily flicked his wrist, adding too much energy for it to be actually a smooth gesture. Honestly, it's a practical plan when you think about it. We have plenty to discuss face to face. There's our entire future to consider after all. I'm glad this single trip isn't the end of us, Tally. Yeah. You know, I still remember when everything in my life seemed it was ending or changing. And you comforted me by saying I could find people who would be there with me. Always. And that I might have already found some. So far. You've been right. I do. But now I can say it back to you. And Baxter, there are people who want to be close to you no matter how much distance there is or how much time goes by. I know, because I'm one of them. Your words struck a deep resounding chord in Baxter's heart. There was no as if that time. A bond like the one you had together truly was what he had longed for his entire life. Baxter's eyes grew damp. He wiped it away with the thumb.
It's settled.
It's settled then. With that, he straightened out his jacket and swiped at his bangs in vain attempt to seem more presentable. I suppose we should make another appearance now. I'm not the only person who here wants to see you. And I'll be the one who gets to be with you again. They want to see you too. And they've had to wait way longer for that. Baxter gave a light chuckle, fully in control of his emotions again. Or, he wasn't exactly controlling them. He had become comfortable with what he felt.
Let's return together.
Sure. We shouldn't keep our friends waiting after how patient they've been. Let's return together, Callie. He reached out for you once more, ready for the next dance before it even... He reached out for you once more, ready for the next dance, even before either of you could hear the music again. You accepted it. Seeing him that way, you couldn't help reflecting on how the man facing you had always been so ready to leave, to turn his back to you, to be alone, for as long as you had known him. And now, every point along that list had changed. Resident of California, a member of the group, a boyfriend for life. That was Baxter Ward. So, even though you had been preparing to leave this place, when the party ended, you were positive the two of you would end up coming back together. Again. And again. It was simply unavoidable for you and him. First, because a string of chance encounters, and a second, because of your own efforts. The pushes and pulls of life were like a dance. Sometimes you were familiar with the steps, and sometimes you had to make them up as you went along. Luckily for you, no matter which tempo, style, or pattern played, you'd have a true partner by your side for the next song.